Hi everyone, I'm in Sedona, Arizona, and this is the first stop of my 3-week camping trip this summer. After this, I will be going to Utah, but first I'm going to do a couple of hikes while I'm here. So today I'm going to hike Boynton Canyon. I might not go all the way. I have already done it before, but along the way there are two places to see. One is called the Vortex, and I have already seen it before. I hiked it 2 months ago when I was here, but I want to do it again. And then there's another place called Subway Cave. I didn't get to see that one. So my plan is to get to these two sites. So that's what this video is going to be about. I was here already 2 months ago. That was my first time. That was during spring break, and I came with my friend Shailene, and we did a lot of hikes. We hiked every single day. We were here for like 5 or 6 days, and it was a lot of people here. Summer is really not the peak season for Sedona. I think it's too hot for people. It's really spring and fall. So in the spring, there were so many people everywhere. It's not something I like. Some places were like straight up packed, like Disneyland. It was a little bit kind of crazy. But the camping made up for all of that. This is my campsite now, and this was actually the same exact area where I camped in April. That was just 20 feet away from that exact spot. And this is dispersed camping on Forest Service Road 525. If you are interested in camping out here, I think it's amazing. This is free. There's nothing here, no water, no bathrooms, no tables, absolutely nothing, just like dispersed camping should be. And there are lots of areas to camp, but you can only camp in designated campsites. I think they're doing that to preserve the land. But once you're here, you're not going to be really close to other people. In April, there were a lot more people here, but it was still very nice. And then you can just walk out and this whole land is yours. This is just amazing. This is exactly what I'm looking for when I go camping. But let's go do that hike. I have my food and water packed, and my doggy has her little backpack. So let's get to it. This is the parking lot of the trailhead with bathrooms. If you want to park here, you need to come as early as 6 or 6:30 a.m. If the parking lot is full, then you just need to park up the street, not right next to it, but just a little ways up the street. Many people do that, and I did that both times. The Boynton Canyon hike itself is not very strenuous. It's relatively flat, very little elevation changes. There are some areas you have to step up or step down to, so maybe not everyone can do it, but I would say it's pretty suitable for most people. You need to pay attention to signs because you could end up on a different trail if you don't pay attention. There are lots of trails going all over the place, and I have made some mistakes 2 months ago, which was fine, but if you want to go on a hike, then you kind of need to finish that one, right? So make sure you pay attention to the signs and then just keep going, follow the trail. It's pretty simple. Oh my goodness, somebody was thirsty already. We walked for 10 minutes. The Vortex is pretty early on the trail, just after a few minutes of hiking. Just make sure you look on your map so you don't miss it, because the sign itself is not really that obvious. It just says Vista. That refers to the Vortex. And right there at the beginning, I was given a heart. This is carved out of stone. And this man right there in the blue shirt gave it to me. And when he gave it to me, he told me we need to follow our hearts and not our minds, because our mind is where our ego is. So we need to go with our heart. And I was like, that is so right. And it was just so nice to hear it. I don't know, call me sentimental or whatever. A lot of my followers and friends are, tough outdoors men, and I'm a tough outdoor chick or whatever. But kindness always goes a long way. So that was a very nice touch. I was really touched by it. So I thought that was great. So I carried that heart with me all the way to the top and held onto it, and then I just put it in my backpack. So that was really nice. The hike to the Vortex is not very long at all, but it is more steep. In some places, you have to step pretty high up. So I wouldn't call it difficult, but again, I just want to point this out because not everyone can do it or not everyone will enjoy it, but it's definitely doable. Keep an eye out for these trail markers. They're going to pop up about halfway up or maybe even higher up. And I guess it's because there are other trails here that you could accidentally go on. And I did just that. I was, very aware of these markers, but I followed the dog. I thought she knew what she was doing, and turns out she did not. So I went the wrong way. But if that's the case, you can just look on your map, on Google Map, and cell phone service was great up here. So it could show you where you are. And then I just simply turned around and I was like, oh, okay, that's where we're going. There will always be people here. Like right now, like I said, it's not even the peak season, but there are some people here. So you can always hear voices. And this here is the actual Vortex site. And I don't know if you know anything about it, but this is set to be an area where there is this swirling of healing energy that just keeps going. And they say, I found this on Google, is that you can tell by the juniper trees. There are some juniper trees that are twisted. The branches are sort of kind of swirling around themselves. And that is supposed to be because when they were growing, they got twisted from all that energy. I don't know if you believe it or not, but it's very interesting. There are some other juniper trees here. They're not all twisted like that. So normally they're just straight. So could be true. It's definitely a peaceful area. I always feel peaceful when I'm around these mountains, regardless. They say that you could feel a different sensation when you're here, like maybe something tingling or something warmth or something like that. I don't know if I felt any of that, but it was definitely peaceful, and I stayed here for quite a while. Remember the man that gave me the heart? Well, he was the one who was playing the flute here. It was definitely another nice touch. It just came out of nowhere, and it was very quiet. First you could hardly hear it. It was so nice. It was definitely adding to the atmosphere. Then you simply go back to Boynton Canyon Trail, make a right, and continue. You can go all the way to the end, but we're just going to go to the subway cave. Somebody's trying to take a break, huh? I know it's a little warm, but it's not even so bad. And now you're eating grass, okay? Come on, sweetie, let's go. Good doggy, Misha. My Mishachka. Interestingly, this trail goes right through town. So that will be kind of a large portion where you're hiking right next to buildings and houses. And I was actually wrong earlier. There are some elevation changes. I mean, I don't consider them hard. It's not for a very long time, but you do have to hike up in some areas. But for the most part, it's still pretty easy. It is very long though, so you really need to be prepared. So here comes the tricky part. You need to find the trail that will take you to the subway cave. And on Google Maps, you can find the location, Subway Cave, but there's no trail leading to it, not on that map. I was also looking at my Onyx Hunt map. It didn't show it. Some people that were hiking there, they said they used all trails, and that one has the trail. I don't have that app, so I don't know, but they said it's actually really good. But you just need to put your Google Maps, if that's what you're using, you need to put it on the satellite option, and then it actually shows you a trail to go. So you need to keep an eye on that so you don't miss it. But the most important thing to remember is that there will be a huge juniper tree on the left, and that's where the trail starts. So the tricky part is there are many juniper trees, and you might not know what I mean by large, right? So you kind of need to look at your phone and try to find this trail and also look for the tree. So this is what that tree looks like. It's on your left. I would say it's probably the largest trees out there, or one of the largest. You can't really miss it. And then you turn to the right, and that's where the trail goes. Chances are there will be people around even now. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't packed. It was actually very nice. Everybody has the same goal. It's just to try to hike, and you can always ask them for advice. And if you get a little, scared to get lost or anything, people are really never that far. Somehow I got on the wrong trail again. I mean, I was just following the trail, but it wasn't a big deal. It was just a little loop. And the way I found out is that I was ahead of a group and I was going much faster. And then we ended up together at the same spot. And then I looked on my map and I realized what happened. So it wasn't a big deal. But my advice is that you need to make sure you either have really good cell phone service or that you need to download maps to make sure you never get lost. In this area, you wouldn't get lost and never be found. There are always people around, but it's always better be safe. As you can see, this portion of the hike can be a little difficult. It is often steep, not too steep, but it will definitely take some energy to get up there, and you have to scramble over some rocks. So I would say this is maybe a moderate difficulty. The Vortex site was easy. The Boynton Canyon itself, I think, is easy, and this one is probably moderate, but it's totally worth it. You'll see when we get to the top. When you get to your destination, there are two things to look at. There's the cave, and there's a dwelling. So at the cave, there were a lot of people trying to go up there, and some people said that there's an easy way, and then there's a hard way, and to the left could be the easy way. Well, that wasn't the case, but I went to the left, and that's how I ended up at the dwelling. And it was just amazing. There was a petroglyph on the wall, and there are two areas that were built. I mean, a little enclosure that was built, and obviously people have lived there. And there's another one that's a little bit smaller, but that was also used for dwelling. So this was totally worth it. I waited here, and then I went back down to the cave. Look, Misha. Somebody built this a long time ago. And they lived here. Wow. This is nice and cool in here. It's not even hot. So you can't really see the opening, but it's sort of in the middle of the picture. And there are people right on top trying to walk around the ledge. I thought that was very risky. There was a lot of yelling going on, people telling each other what to do, what not to do. I would have been too scared. I mean, I'm not trying to die while I'm out here. Some of them made it. Some of them turned around. I don't think it was any easier than climb up from the bottom, because I did actually go up there myself, and the dog. The dog even made it. So don't do this, okay? So this is the way up to the cave. On the left-hand side is the easy way, and the right side is the hard way. That's what they were talking about. So the left is narrow and very steep, and I did that one, and it wasn't too hard. And Misha just ran up in the middle. She had a little bit of difficulty. She almost slipped, but all these nice people started cheering her on. They already knew her name, and she just ran right up. So this is why it's called the subway cave, because it looks like a subway station from the inside, and it's very nice. It's definitely worth it. We sat around on the ledge. It was definitely something to see and something to do. Going down was a little scary. Going down is always harder than coming up, and this is very steep. You can't walk. You just have to kind of stay low to the ground, maybe even scoot down on your butt, and don't worry about your clothes. So we made it. I was a little scared for the dog. She was scared herself, but she made it. It was all great. And after that, you'll just go back on that trail, which proved to be a little bit more complicated than you would think. I was walking with another hiker. We got off the trail. Then we met up with a couple. We still couldn't quite find our way back. And then we met up with a third group. And then we overall ended up at the Boynton Canyon Trail. So you don't have to worry. You will never really get lost, but you need to make sure you have cell phone service and a map. So this is the juniper tree we ended up at. And then from here, just went back to our truck. So this was a great hike. If you feel ambitious and you want to go all the way to the Boynton Canyon Trail at the end of this, it will be pretty long. If you feel up to it, make sure you have a lot of water, because there's no water along the way, and enough food to fuel your hike. It's totally worth it. Whichever portion you end up doing, it's still worth it. So plan carefully. I'm hoping this video was helpful in deciding what you're going to do. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.